what's the difference between fear, frustration, anger, and disappointment? And in English, everybody knows what they mean, but then when you're actually feeling it, sometimes you're not really gauging it every time. You tend to think, oh, it's a negative emotion. You just, like, put it in that one umbrella, and then like sort of do something with it. So how do you, like, what is the difference between these four emotions: fear, frustration, anger, and disappointment? And how do you deal with these emotions?
Fear is a emotion or feeling that is that that is individual can't do that. People are having social anxiety. They are afraid of to meet new people, or the old ones who are in this case, the corona one, where you can't go now people are facing troubles because they are in 1 year lockdown, so they are facing more problems with social anxiety, or due to that the frustration is occurred. So that the case is more vulnerable for that person. So they need most help for that. The individual is facing more trouble for this thing. And the third one is, can you repeat?
Yes, it's fear, frustration, anger, and disappointments.
And anger is that you can't you are facing your fear, then it's becoming frustration, so that is becoming your anger. You can't you can't cope up with that frustration or fear, so it becomes your it comes into anger. So this this whole things become a disappointment. So chain is there for so sometimes it becomes so disappointed for that person, so they can't go with the things. Like I said, social anxiety is the most top of the uh, current needed thing for various individuals.
Okay, you bring up some excellent points. The first one is sometimes it's a cycle with before it even happens. You have a fear that, oh shit, this could happen, and then you worry about it. You sometimes procrastinate about it, and obviously, so that is the fear part. And then it happens, and then it's you don't really like it, so you feel frustrated that it happened, and then and then with the self-management part of it, where you actually deal with it, is where you do something outward. That's like the anger, where
Yeah, that
of course,
sudden outburst comes out
yes.
as.
I hope I'm showing the right person.
Yeah.
Yes. And then finally, with disappointment, is at the end of the day, like, you wanted something and it didn't go the way that you wanted. So sometimes it could be a cycle. But anyway, Ilakkiya?
I thought what Yashika did by kind of relating them all into a cycle of emotions was really interesting. I was planning to just define them as individual emotions. Uh, so I thought that was very nice. Um, well, I feel like most of these words, it's easy to experience the emotion just by reading the word. You kind of know what it feels like. I would say frustration and disappointment are similar, except it's basically when something isn't going your way, but is your upsetness tinged with anger, that's frustration. And if it's tinged with sadness, then it's disappointment. Um, and between fear and anger, um, it's maybe kind of two different ways to respond to a situation as well. Fear is kind of, maybe the flight version more in a flight or fight comparison. Um, Fear is kind of you want to hide, you want to run away, you want to preserve your well-being, you don't want to risk anything. You're I would say primarily you don't want to risk anything. You know, there's a chance of something going wrong, and that's why you're afraid. Um, Anger is more, you know, if you're confident in a way, you want to take up the space, you want your thing heard, you are ready to put in the effort it takes against whoever or whatever it is to kind of make your point heard. So I think that's how I would think of the differences between these words.
That's a pretty good explanation as well with the differences between anger and fear. I now that you say it, I can see that you have the fight or flight tendency, and then it could also be just with the person being an alpha person or a beta person. You could sort of tend to see which one they potentially go for. Um, the way I see it, fear is sort of like brace for impact. Hey, like I don't want this to happen. Anything but this. So like it's sort of you're fearing an outcome. Whereas frustration is after the outcome has happened, where you don't like the thing that has happened. Anger is when you want to protect something. So it could be like for example, you could get angry at a child because you don't want the child to get hurt, or it could be you get angry because you might actually be like not feeling angry at all. You might be feeling frustrated or disappointed, and you might just be projecting out loud where you show it as anger, because anger is seen as an okay emotion to show, whereas sometimes fear and frustration, disappointments are not. And I don't know how it is with females, but then like sometimes with males, that thing is there where it's okay to show your anger, but it's not really that okay to show your disappointment, vulnerability, and so they don't really have the choice of crying to go there. So the way they do it is, of course, through distraction, or if not through anger. And then of course disappointments is again in the same alley as frustration, where frustration is more of something where you're frustrated by it, you're still able to like pick yourself up, where disappointment is something I feel like, like a step two of frustration, where no, like it's actually sort of like bothering you to an extent where you actually call it a disappointment. And potentially you might lash out with this as well. So that's my answer to this. Do you guys have anything to add, or can I go to the next question? Ilakkiya?
I think it's interesting that you kind of brought up, anger might be a more easily accepted emotion to be expressed compared to frustration or disappointment, fear. And I see that when you said it, it made sense. But in my mind, logically, I'm also thinking I would rather have someone frustrated than angry, because I feel like the damage someone can do to the external environment is less if they're frustrated or disappointed, and more if they're angry. Um, that was something I was thinking. And it's very cool that we all think of the emotions in different ways. It's like the same four words, but the way we anecdotally explained them was very different. And I think that says a lot.
I totally agree with that. Like, anger is like not a great way to like show it. And in fact, if someone is angry, then probably don't want to be with that person. Usually because they're angry and you don't know what they might do. You don't know to the extent, like you don't know where their boundaries are, and that could induce fear in you. Uh, so I totally agree with that. But I was just talking about more of a societal thing where I'm trying to say why men would potentially like do it, because I see anger more in men than women, and anger is also like an emotion that you show. So, and like of course, women also have things that they want to protect, and they do it in different ways. Uh, so yeah.
Thanks for watching. For more discussions, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Also, make sure to like and comment more topics that you'd like to see us discuss. We'll see you next time.